This is Module 5, Lesson 31. In this lesson, we're going to be adding mixed numbers. Let's look at the mixed number 2 and 1/8, and we're going to add it to 1 and 5/8. And in mixed numbers, we have two units. So we have ones, which are the whole numbers. And then in this situation, we also have eights. So total here, we have 3 ones, and 1/8 plus 5/8 equals 6/8. So when we add these together, we get 3 plus 6/8 equals 3 6/8. We could also look at this as a number equation. So 2 is equal to 2 plus 1/8. And we're adding that to 1 plus 5/8. So if we combine the whole numbers, 2 plus 1 is 3. And 1/8 plus 5/8 is 6/8. So again, our total is 3 6/8. So in this example, we combined like units, and then we showed it in a number sentence. Let's look at a different one. Okay. We can approach this the same way. We can add the ones first, and then we can add the fourths. And we know that 4/4 is equal to 1, so our total would be 6. We could show this several different ways on a number line, but one possibility would be to start with the ones. So we're starting with 2, and we're adding 3 to it. Then we're going to add 3/4 more, and then 1/4 more, which takes us to a total of 6. Now in this situation, we have mixed numbers again, but this time the fractional parts are going to sum to a number greater than 1. So there's a couple ways of approaching this. Again, we can do it by units. Add the 2 plus the 3 to get 5. And then we can add the 2 fractional parts. So this would give us 5 and 10/8. And then we can decompose that into 8/8 plus 2/8. So we'd have 5 plus 1 plus 2/8, which we could simplify to 6 1/4. So in this circumstance, we're combining like units, and then we're decomposing the fraction into whole number and fractional parts. There's a different strategy. Again, 2 mixed numbers where the fractional parts are going to sum to greater than 1. In this situation, we could add the whole numbers, and then we could think about what we need to add to 5/8 to get a whole. So we could decompose the second fraction into 3/8 plus 2/8, where 3/8 plus 5/8 would be equal to 8/8 or 1, and then we'd have 2/8 left. So our sum would be 10 2/8. Instead of drawing a number line for this, we could do what's called the arrow way. And we could show here that we have we've got 9. In our whole numbers, and then we have 5/8. Then we're going to add 3/8 to give us another 1, which would be 10. And then we're going to add the 2/8 that are left to give us 10 and 2/8. So this is an alternative to drawing a big long number line, but we're still showing how we're adding and progressing on to our total sum. And again, we can see that this could be simplified to 10 and 1/4. Let's try some problems in our problem set. So for this one, the first example shows us that we have decomposed the first whole number into ones and thirds, and the second whole number into ones and thirds. We've combined the two whole numbers to 5, and the two fractional parts, 1/3 plus 2/3, to 3/3. And since we know 3/3 is equal to 1, our total sum would be 6. Try B on your own. So this would decompose into 4 and 1/4, and to 3 and 2/4. So adding the whole numbers together, we get 4 plus 3 is 7, and the fractional parts, 1/4 plus 2/4 would be 3/4. Try C. For C, again, we decompose into the whole number and the fractional parts. Our whole numbers would add 2 plus 6 would be 8, and our fractional part would be 2/6 plus 4/6, which would be 6/6, and 6/6 is equal to 1, so our total would be 9. In part 2, it says to show a number line to show your work. So here we could show 2 and 4/5 is where we're starting. Then we're going to add 1, which would be 5/5. And then 2/5. We'd end up with 4 and 1/5. And we show that here 3 plus 1 is 4 and 1/5. Okay, you try B. Okay, for B, we can add the whole number parts, which are 3, the fractional parts, which would be 6/4, and then we could decompose 6/4 into 4/4 plus 2/4, and the 3 plus 1 would be 4 and 2/4. So if we show this on a number line, one way would it be to start at 1 3/4. And we're going to go forward 3. So that would be 1, 2, 3. And 3/4 would be 4 and 2/4. Try C. I'm sorry, I see a mistake back here in B. 1 plus 3 should be 4, so this should be 5. And our number line should show 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to add 3/4. So we end up with 5 2/4, or 5 1/2. Okay, let's try C. So here, again, adding the whole number parts, we get 5. Adding the fractional parts, we got 9/8. 5 plus 8/8 plus 1/8 would equal 6 1/8. And if we divide these into 8s, we could start at 3 3/8. And then we're going to go forward 2. So to 4 3/8, and then 5 3/8. And then we're going to add 6/8. And we'd end up with 6 1/8. Going on to number 3, we're going to use the arrow way to show how to make 1. So in this method, we're going to decompose one of the fractions so that we can build one whole. So in this situation, we've added 2 plus 1 to get 3. And we've got 4/6. So we're going to decompose the 5/6 into 2/6. Since 2/6 plus 4/6 would be equal to 1, and there'd be 3/6 left over. So we have 3 plus 6/6 plus 3/6. 6/6 is 1, so that would be 4 3/6. So showing that the arrow way, we would have 3 and 4/6. Then we're going to add 2/6 to get 4. And then we're going to add 3/6 to get 4 3/6. Okay, you try B. So for B, we're going to add the whole numbers first. Then we have 3/4, and we're going to subdivide and decompose 3/4 into 1/4 plus 2/4. So we can add these two together and get 4/4 with 2/4 left over. So 4 plus 4/4 would be 5, and 2/4 would be 5 1/2. So showing it with the arrow way, our first number is 4 3/4. So we're going to add 1/4 to it to give us 5. And then we're going to add the 2/4 that are left to get 5 2/4, which simplifies to 5 1/2. For 4, you can use whatever method you prefer. So try A. Okay, for this one, let's do like units. So 1 plus 3 is 4. 3/5 plus 4/5 equals 7/5, which will decompose into 1 2/5. So our sum would be 5 2/5. Again, you could also use the method of decomposing the second fraction. that works too, whichever one makes most sense to you. Try B. So for B, let's try the decomposing the fraction method. So we're going to add the whole numbers, and then we have 6/8, and now we need one more eighth, and we'd have 6/8 left. So we're going to add, we need 2/8, and there would be 5/8 left. So we're going to add 2/8, which would give us 8/8. So 5 plus 8/8 with 5/8 left over would be 6 5/8. Try C. Okay, let's go back to decomposing the second fraction as a strategy for this one. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 8/12 plus 7/12 would be 15/12. We can decompose 15/12 into 12/12 plus 3/12, which would be 6 3/12, which could also simplify to 6 1/4. So again, you can use whichever strategy makes sense for you. Write down as much as you need to of the process so that you don't lose your place. But if you can do some of it as mental math, that's fine. Just pick the strategy that works the best for you and gives you correct answers. That concludes lesson 31.